Hello, good morning, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to this episode of Parentitude with Suruurah. And today we're talking about a regulated parent, how we can correct with calm, firmness, and authenticity. Authenticity, yes. And if you can hear me and you can see me, can you say salam in the comment chart so that I can know that I'm not just talking to myself? So thank you all for joining live. And for those of you that will be joining in later to catch the replay, we are all welcome. For you to be here at this hour on a Saturday morning, it says to me one thing, that your parenting is a big deal to you and you are ready to take it on to the next level. Yes, thank you. Wa alaikum salam wa so thank you, Fauziya. Nice to have you here. So let's dive right into the conversation because the whole idea is to have this in an hour or less, typically like 30-40 minutes conversation, because I understand that this is Saturday morning and we all have a gazillion things that we really want to do and we have to do. Okay, so our children do a gazillion things that make us flip our handle a gazillion billion times every day. Yes. And despite our best promises to ourselves, we fail and fall flat most times. Like, you remember what I shared about um, my own children when I said, okay, just give me a word code. When I hear code, it will reset me. So I was depending on that external factor to come within. But guess what? I fell flat on my feet. And when you say code, or code, this is not code matter. Okay. So do we think it's even really humanly possible to correct with a soft tone and facial expression, and just bring that softness into our everyday conversation with our children? Give me a yes if you think it's possible, and give me a no if you think it is not possible. Yeah, so let's make this interactive so that um, we can all, you know, have a feel and make it participatory. Mashallah, Amina said it is possible. Yes, it is possible. And for you to say that it is possible, that I want to tell you that I align with you. And I'm here to challenge each of us, including myself, that yes, it is possible, and to show us how this can be achieved. Are we together? Because being calm or being a spiritual elite, if I can use that word, is not a personality trait. It is actually a skill, and like any other skill, like how a child learns to work, like how a child learns to write, like how an adult helps to use Canva or how to use your blender, it's a skill that can be learned. And we're here to see how we can make that happen. Okay, now by the end of this short interaction, my promise is just one: we will all learn how to regulate ourselves in real time, and we can correct our children with a calm tone and that calm physiology, right? Without authority, being concerned or disturbed or feeling that space that we're going to lose our authority even on those hardest days. And when we agree that what most of us struggle with is not correcting calmly or softly, it is regulating ourselves first and fast enough before correcting our children. Of course, we all say that slogan now: connect before you correct, connect before you correct. Now, once this is resolved internally, our tone and facial expression will follow naturally. So now let's look at how to make that happen practically, repeatedly, and in a way that is relatable to us. Now, I want us to quickly examine the truth that we must accept, which is that we cannot accept that soft tone while our nervous system is in a threat mode. I'll say that again. We cannot access that calm part of us, that softness, while our nervous system is in a flight or threat mode. Okay. Now, how does the nervous system actually read a threat mode? That is something we should be curious about. Now, and I'll say it simply, it is in our programming. Everything is in our wiring. It is the way we have been encoded. You know, we have been made to believe that when a child misbehaves, we have to we have registered it in our subconscious that if we don't do anything in that instance, it shows that we are losing control, we are allowing the child to disrespect us, and it is a danger to our authority. So our brain does not register a teachable moment, rather, it registers it as a threat. And when we're in that threat mode, our nervous system um, cannot reach out to that calm part of us. So, in our internal dialogue in that moment, we are thinking, oh, why is this child like this? Not again. Oh, I'm tired of correcting, you know. So, it's a lot of things that is also going on for us in that moment, okay? And because of that internal dialogue that is taking place in us, it is difficult typically for us to access that calm zone. Now, and most of the time, our tone will betray us, no matter the words we use. Like somebody shared on the Parent First Committee yesterday, even though I think she later deleted the post, and she said something. She said, even though I wanted to be in that calm state, but my facial construct was failing me, right? So our tone will betray us no matter the words we use. Our body language will betray us no matter the words we use. And this is because when we are in that state, right, that threat state, that lower part of our brain, the amygdala, that small part that is part of the brain that is responsible for processing our emotions, particularly fear, anxiety, aggression, you know, it is activated in that moment. And when the amygdala is online, it is just difficult or almost impossible to be able to reach or harness that softness. It is just unavailable to us at that time. So our goal is not to try to sound soft, but the first thing to do is to help our brain to return to safety. And when we're able to do this, we realize that we can be able to connect with that calm part of ourselves, and then our tone and our words can fall in alignment. Now, correction must be delayed. If we're able to do all of these things, we must be able to delay correction, typically between 3 to 10 minutes. Yeah, 3 to 10 minutes. I'm sorry, 3 to 10 seconds, right? And this is to help us regulate, so we can do it in three simple steps. And remember that what we're talking about is even diving deep into the sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, because the Prophet Sallallahu said something like, when you're angry, you should do what? If you're standing, you should sit. If you're sitting, you should lie down. If you're lying down, you should get up and make wudu. And all of this is about what? Changing our physiology, because there's something that movement does to recite our neurologic and calm the amygdala, and like it's like telling it, calm down, bro. There's no threat in here. Okay. So we know this hadith. Unfortunately, it is not even echoed to us enough times for it to even sound as a cue for us. And when we're able to regulate, trust me, and wait that 10 seconds, it is not us being permissive or giving room for the in quotes misbehavior to keep on going. Rather, it is us modeling the regulation we want to see in our children. Because guess what? The correction is in the calm connection. Okay. Now we'll quickly share the 3-step regulation reset, right? And the first thing we want to do is to take a physiological pause, right? And what would that look like? Typically, what do we see when we're in that state? Our muscles are tightening, and our teeth are clenching, and at times we can even find some kind of discomfort in our stomach. So, to tell me in the comment section, when you're angry, when you're losing it, what are those things you feel in your body? Do you have sweaty palms? Does your mouth begin to twitch, or your facial muscles, do they begin to tighten? What are those things that actually send a signal to the heart? Hansi, yeah, read that please. Okay, so you can put that in the comment section. So, what is it for you? 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 What would that look like for you? Okay, so while we're waiting on that, let me say that yes, that muscle softening and it's very important, because see, before we speak, we need to take a physiological pause. Yes. And how do we do this? We need to exhale slowly through our mouth, longer, and then inhale. Yes. Thank you for sharing. Something I feel something boiling within my chest. Fatima said she feels something boiling within her chest. Amina said is it twitching for her? Yes, I also twitch too. And then someone else said my stomach cramps. Yes, so we all experience this in different ways. Now we need to start. The first step we can take to begin to regulate from within is to actually take a physiological pause. And what would that look like? So before you speak, you want to exhale slowly. And that look like, okay, exhale slowly and then inhale. And this is so that we can send a signal to our brain so that it can reduce the activation of the amygdala, and tell the amygdala that, hey, uncle, calm down. We understand that you're trying to protect us, but here, there's no threat here, okay? And the thing is that the moment we're able to do this, is it helps us to recalibrate. Now, the second thing we want to do is to soften our muscles. Yes, because at times when that anger is boiling, you're in that tense state. So, Auntie, calm down, drop the shoulders. Yes, unclench your jaws if you're tightening your fist, and relax your eyebrow. Instead of that, you know how we do it. Just first of all, try and make that change in your whole physiology. That facial expression will follow our tone, right? And not the intention in our heart. So it's important that we take 3 to 10 seconds to be able to do the physiological pause, relax all our shoulders, our jaws, and our eyebrows, and all those things that we're seeing that are becoming tense. And then the third thing is to have a eye level orientation. And what would that mean? I'm sure most of us have heard that, maybe when you're talking with your children, is you should come down to their level. If they're sitting down, sit with them. If they're toddlers, come down to their level. Right. So the whole idea is to have that connection, and then be able to turn your body in full attention. And the act of this actually helps. It's like you're lowering your chin, and you're able, and of course, that is like a slight movement. Even it sends a memo, a message to the brain to be curious. It activates that curiosity rather than that anger mode. Then when we're able to do this, right, the whole idea is to reduce the dominance that is signaling and inviting cooperation with our children. Now, we know that in that moment, when we're able to do this three sets, which basically is physiological pause, right? The muscle softening and the eye level orientation, where we bend our chin a bit or come down to the level of the children, whatever it is. Just like Professor said, change your physiology. If you're sitting, stand up, and all of those. The moment you're able to do this, what guess what it does? It sets a message to the amygdala, like, calm down. And the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that is responsible for thinking, is able to come back online, right? And that is like our brain's strategic planner, and it is the one that is in charge of our executive functioning skills, like planning, like decision making, problem solving, impulse control, moderating social behavior, our personality expression, all of those things. They prepares the prefrontal cortex to actually be able to come back online, right, and tell us that okay, we're safe here. And now, when we are able to do these three steps, our correction can land. And all of this does not need to take forever. It is just a 10-second practice. It's in 10 seconds we can do what? Have the physiologic change, which is basically what? To exhale slowly, right? To relax our facial muscle. And the brain does not know um, when you're deceiving it or when you're actually being real. So it is for us to tell our bodies that what, you are in charge, and not allow the brain to just hijack the process for us. And why we are able to do this, we are actually helping our brain to see that this child that in quotes is doing something that is frustrating us, that is making us lose it, is not being difficult. She's not being sent by in quote village people to set us up. She's not doing it because she's being stubborn. But we can actually see that we're getting a message here. And what is that message? This child is missing a skill right now. And what is that skill that I need to help my child to access, to know? Because that change in meaning that we're giving the situation can actually is actually where our power lies, right? And the nervous system will be able to respond differently when we tell it that, oh, this is a skill deficient, than when we say, oh, this is defiant, this child is trying to be stubborn, and all of those things. Now, when we believe that we're teaching instead of confronting, what happens? Naturally, our voice, our tone will soften. It's almost like an automatic process, right? And it's not like we're trying to pretend. No, this is actually state management, what we call state management in NLP. So, and as people, we have to become masters of managing our state, because guess what? Everything is state dependent, and you can control it. And that is why right now you can shout at your child, and your bestie calls you on the phone, and immediately you can quickly change and be in that moment with a smile or something. So we can actually control our brain to feel and to do what we want it to do per time, if we can be present in that moment, and and put ourselves in that state that will empower us to bring out that best version of us that we so much aspire to do. Because guess what, our intentions are not enough. So what they say about faking it until you make it, because like I said, the brain does not know the difference between what is made up and what is real. And by the time we have trained the brain to react almost instantaneously, right? And by the time we're able to begin on this new journey. It's like when you want to go into, assuming you just bought a plot of land, and then it's in places in quotes like a jungle. The first time you're going to access it, right? You're actually literally going to use your tires to create the path. Or even if you're going on your feet, you're going to step on the grass, and there will be really no clear path, right? That first time. But give it time. When you go over and over and over again, what happens? You begin to see a clearly defined pathway that you can pass. And that is exactly what we're talking about here. So, yes, we're used to setting up our amygdala coming to tell us that, oh, there's threat here, and then we respond. But what we're saying is that we should be able to manage at states and give what is happening a new meaning. And then it's like we're creating new neural pathways. And with new neural pathways, we're going to be able to give um, a new response that will be more empowering. Now, let me quickly say something. Our children will not calm down because of our words. Let me say that again. Our children will not calm down because we are saying calm down, or we are threatening them, or we are shouting on them. What happens is what? We're also setting up their own amygdala, right? What they will make them to calm down is just because of our own calm, because they'll be able to mirror our own neurons and then copy our own states. You can imagine if you're upstairs and you just shout to your child, Abdallah, it is a ma. But imagine if you came down and say Abdullah, you say ma. So they mirror our neurons, right? So if your face is tense or your voice is controlled, anger wrapped in politeness, the child will sense a threat, right? And that is where confusion actually sets up. Let's understand that the brain trusts the face more than the words. Our brain will trust our physiology more than the words we are saying. And of course, some of us have probably heard that communication is what we say. I mean, communication is like a three-part truth, right? Where made up of what? The words we say, the tone with which we use to say it, and of course our body language. And that's why Yoruba people say what? Pẹ̀lẹ́, ó kan, ó lábo. That means saying sorry as a um feminine part and the negative and the masculine part. Don't ask which is feminine, which is masculine, all right? But basically telling us that you can say something, you can say sorry, and they can say, "Oh, I'm really sorry." It's the same sorry as saying, but the physiology, the tone, your body language are different, even when the words are the same. And that's why we have learned that the words we say is just 7%. Most of the time, our tone and our body language gives us away, even when our words are saying something. So you can actually be saying all the nice things, but guess what? That's just 7%. Your tone, how are you saying it? And your body language. If you're not able to follow that three-step process, which should sense again, remember this is a brain function, it's a nervous system function. It's not something of I want. It is something of you are recalibrating, you are rewiring, okay, to actually be able to access that calm. So if we're so for us we have to communicate effectively our feelings and our attitudes, let we it's not only the 7% spoken words, our 38% tone of voice, and our 55% body language, which is in this case our facial expression, plays a bigger role. And this suggests that 93% of our emotional communication is non-verbal. It's not what we're saying. And that's why the whole what we're talking about here today is that 93% that is communicating, how can we be in control? How do we master it rather than it being our master? So, and this is why at times parents will say things like, I spoke calmly but it did not work. Calm is not in the words you say, it is in your emotional communication, your non-verbal emotional communication, which is that 93%. Okay. Now, connect. So when all of this are happening, I want to quickly give us a kind of script that we can use, right? So that what was saying can match that 93%. So, for example, we need to do what in this particular order, right? Give a connection statement. And what would that look like? I see you. We say it every time. Can I be far correct? So let your child know that I see you, I value you, you matter, you're important to me. Then, so that is to build that connection. Then you set your boundary in few words. And that can sound like, oh, this is not okay, you know? And so you have kind of um, accepted the child or separated the child from the behavior. So you're not attacking the identity of the child. Where I see you, I value you. This is not okay. What you're doing is not okay. So you are separated what the child is doing, the behavior, from the identity of the child. Then you now communicate your expectation, and that will look like what? This is what you should do instead. This is what is acceptable. But most of the time, we just assume that children should know, right? They should, don't you know, shouldn't you know? But at times, don't forget that the prefrontal context of our children is still developing. They are not able to think long term implication of some of their actions. And that is why we say that parenting is repetition, parenting is boundaries, parenting is understanding what the non negotiables are, setting appropriate limits, and then allowing consequences to do the teaching. So children will not automatically, and then you cannot miss any of the steps. So it's not a thing of say, shouldn't she know what? She's a child. You can say now and she may forget. Even Allah says in the Quran that what? And man is created in a state of forgetfulness. And he also says in another verse that she what? Admonish and remind, because what? Remind that profits the believer. So, but we don't want to remind. We only want to repeat ourselves. We just want our children to be like robots when we set them up, and then we just assume that that is how they should be. So what we're doing here is we don't need to explain all that long lectures we give into the same process. You know, in that heat of the moment, no teaching takes place. The brain shuts down and your child is not learning. And all your good words, all your good advices, like they're just going inside the trash. Okay. So I see you. The way you're speaking with me is not okay. Please try again. Or say that again. You know, you say you give the directive once, you pause, because in that your pause, most of the time what we do is that we begin to lecture. And the moment we talk, the more we talk, the more it's brewing inside us, the more it's brewing, and the more we're in that state, we are widening the gap between our children and losing influence, right? So we need to understand that silence is the regulation, and repeating ourselves in that way and going on and on with that lecturing is actually dysregulation. So you want to say it once and allow the child understand, and the child has understand. In fact, in guided tribe, there's a skill we teach alongside with this, and I call it the asked and answered tool, right? And of course, um, if you are a member of guided tribe, especially the last cohort, you already know what I'm talking about, the asked and answered tool. And if you're in this cohort, we're going together very soon. And if you're not in the guided tribe, please, the next cohort will begin in August, inshallah, and you can start to book your space now. You can start to book your space, because guess what? What you will be learning, it was going to be far much more when you compare it with the with the what you've been doing that is not giving you that result that you want. Okay, and if you look at Prophet Muhammad Sallam, right, it was firm, it was gentle, it was not reactive, and we know that popular hadith, which of course we don't like to say often. Where did this boy slave Anna, real Anna, Prophet Sallam will send me on an errand, and then I will go enter the streets and go and pray. Then I remember, Prophet Salam said me, you run back home. And he said to them, when I come back, Prophet Salam will not ever ask me why I did not do something or why I did something. Because again, children cannot process why. When you ask that why, what are we doing? We're helping them to think of an excuse or just to stay with us in a blank field. And there is no teaching, there is no learning, there is no discipline that is taken on in that moment. Because, like I like to say, discipline is what is teaching, right? And even Allah says in Quran chapter 3, verse 459, it says, and by the mercy of Allah, you were gentle with them. Had you been harsh and hard hearted, they would have dispersed from around you. So, gentleness is not a personality trait, it is a skill, it is a regulated state that we can all achieve, and we can find its roots in our tawakkul. When we remember that, you know what, we're all returning to Allah, we trust Allah for His guidance, and that we as parents, our role is delivery, not control. And then when we're in that state, that thing that makes us feel like, oh, it's urgent, it has to be now, 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 it begins to gently diffuse and dissipate. Because the reality is that that sense of urgency we put in our interaction is what hardens our face and sharpens our voice. So you go into the kitchen and then there are plates to be washed, and then you take a look, and then immediately you see it, you're triggered, and then it further, widening the gap between you and your child, and you're subtly losing influence. And the moment they go out of your home, they go to university, they hardly come home or something. But what can you do differently? You can take a chill pill, right? In that 3 to 10 second exhale, release, like tell your muscles, relax. We are not in danger here, right? And then, ask when you tilt down your head with curiosity, Amatu, you're the one to do the dishes. How come the dishes are still here? Do you want to do them now or after whatever? Again, that's one of the skills you also learn in guided trial, which is the skill of giving children choices. Because when you give a child a choice, you give them the illusion of power. They feel that they are chosen, and then they can be more cooperation, right? Because again, urgency is even in productivity, right? What do we learn? The four quadrants, right, of productivity. We should understand what is urgent and important. Because if we always go for the urgent, we will leave the important stuff, because everything will be like urgent, urgent, urgent. At the end of the day, we have spent our 24 hours and we have just been dealing with urgent things. And the things that are important to us are left undone. And at the end of the day, we feel frustrated. And this frustration, of course, directly goes into our interaction with our spouses, with our children, and then the gaps keep widening. Okay. So we need to be trusting in Allah. And even Prophet Salam said something, when we're angry, we should say what? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim will take you more than 3 seconds to say. So again, that's the wisdom, the prophetic wisdom, the divine wisdom that is in it. There is nowhere that we have seen or we have learned that when you're angry, just allow the anger to take it. No, because the way the brain is wired, you need to give it what it's due. And remember that what Allah does not ask us for perfection. What it's asking for is our effort. And the more we put the effort, just like I gave you the example with that when you're going on a new field, the more you go, the clearer the path will be. So the problem is that most of us are not even allowing our brain to reset, to give us other options, to be reprogrammed and rewired, to create new neurological pathways that can help us to choose a different response. Okay. And each pause we make, each effort we put, is really an act of worship. It is a striving that Allah so often tells us to take. Are we together? Is it making sense? Okay, if it is, tell me in the chat what is one thing that you have learned, or what is one thing you're going to do differently. One thing I've learned, one thing I'll do differently. Let's put it in the chat. One thing I've learned, one thing I'll do differently. One thing I'll learn, one thing I'll do differently. Okay, so it's not only in yes, yes, but I want us to, put it in our message what I will do differently. What I'll do differently. One thing I've learned, one thing I'll do differently. Okay, so while you're typing that, and all of this thing we're learning, I tell you that even the days that feel hard, they work. Yes, because we're not trying, this is not you trying to be calm all the time, or suppress your frustration, or perform softness like I was trying to do. Just tell me code, and I quickly, this is not a code matter here. No, I was trying to perform. What we're trying to do is to regulate from within first, okay? And that's what we said was the physiological pause, right? The relaxing of our muscles that are tightening to soften them, and then that eye level orientation that set the prefrontal cortex of our brain into that thinking mode. And then when we're able to do that first, right, which is the regulation, that is the regulation. Those 3 steps are our cheat code to be able to regulate ourselves at all times. And we're able to regulate, then second step is to actually speak, right? And then that speaking is, remember, it also has a cheat code, is to connect first. I see you, I see you, I love you, huh, my child. And mothers knew this. They say they will call us by our parents, huh, Alake me. That is like calling you in a way that is endearing. That is the connection statement, guys. That is the connection statement. Then boundaries follows in a few words. That is not okay or not okay. And our mothers will also say, you can't do that. You can't do that. Or maybe I'll say our grandmothers, right? Maybe our grandmothers, maybe not our mothers. Then you communicate the expectation. Here is what to do instead. Don't assume the child know. Give your direction, give the communicate your expectation. And that is teaching, because you recognize that it is a skill gap, and you're not, you know, the conversation is not about you winning, it's not about you trying to define what is going on and say, no, this child is trying to disrespect me, or this child is trying to control me, or I'm losing my authority here. You'll see it as a skill gap, and you're able to connect and have a conversation. And trust me, obedience, influence usually will follow, and our children will begin to regard us, because again, when we come in the moment with that escalated response, then our children shut down. And when they shut down, they're not learning. And that's why the cycle repeats itself, and then we'll go over and over and over again the same thing. Okay, let me quickly see what I have in the comment section. Fatima said, letting go of having to be in control, trusting Allah person before I talk, and giving them options. Always remind myself that I'm just there to guide and not control. Fantastic. May Allah make it easy. Amen. And Citadel said, I've learned that I can calm down before responding instead of reacting. Absolutely, absolutely. So it's not our fault. We're not taught this anywhere, right? And we have just been taught that, if you don't respond, they are taking you for granted, and then we always just want to show. But is that the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad Sallam? No, it is not. Most of the time, he will calm down and explain and repeat himself and speak clearly and communicate expectation. And now, this last step of communicate expectation is so important. And I remember when I had my driver that we worked together for 14 years. And at times we'll do something that it will really get me to my nail end. And my husband will say, how are you reacting? Just communicate your expectation. We are using too many words. Hello, we are going out by 8 o'clock. Be ready. End of conversation. But me, I want to understand why all of those things. But want to communicate expectation and you take a lead. Trust me, that child is like it's like you have broken like a tug of war, and you have left your own side of the wire. When you leave your own side, what happens? What happens? Will the person be dragging? There's nobody to drag with now. So again, it is a lot of things that we need to learn to start doing differently, right? Now, what I want that it's your namesake, Suruurah. Oh, okay. Nice having you here. My namesake, rare special name, right? Anyone that's Suruurah is special. Alhamdulillah. I've been at the thought of that song, but that you know. Okay, now. Okay, so now let us go on to one daily practice that we will want to do to build this muscle. Because again, remember, we want to create new neural pathway. So what is that one daily activity you want to choose to build this muscle? So you want to look at a predictable moment each day where your child usually triggers you. Only one. And your goal in that moment is not to correct. Your goal is not to be perfect, right? Your goal will be to pause before speaking. Because again, in that pause, that is where your magic power is. That is where your superpower is. That is where the correction is. So think about it and tell me in the comment section. What is that one daily moment that you want to practice to build this muscle? What is that daily moment? Okay? Think of what your child triggers you, and you want to practice that pause. Is it when you're reminding them to go and pray salah? Is it when you're telling you want them to go to the bathroom and get ready in the morning? Is it when you want to remind them about their family contribution, also known as chores? What is that moment that gets you to fly up the lead, and in that moment you're triggered and you want to practice building your regulated muscle? Put that in the comment section. And again, the pause, right, is what rewires our nervous system over time. That pause is what rewires our nervous system. And that, remember that that pause is what a physiological pause, right, where we're exhaling, coordinating our facial muscles and all the places that are gliding, and tell you, hey, we're not, there's no threat here, relax. No lion has come to pursue us. And then that our eye level orientation, right? So we realize that our soft tone is achievable, and we can achieve it by returning our nervous system to safety. Once the amygdala gets that, that exhaling helps the amygdala to to kind of relax and understand that there's no threat going on. And once we're able to return our nervous system to safety, then to speak softly will be achieved without an effort. And that is actually a skill that we need to train in ourselves first. And we're able to train it in ourselves, then it will be easy for our children to also model that energy, right? So it is safety, it is a skill, and it is trainable. And it's all about learning and teaching our nervous system new ways of responding. And if you ask me, that is a real parenting work. And that is how to be a regulated parent, how to correct without raising our voice or being stressed. And let me end this by saying that when we are able to be in that state, it is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is an inner skill, and that is the inner skill that will make our children listen, and we're able to correct them. Yeah, and on this note, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this edition of Parentitude with Suruurah. Yes, this it's first about the parent and our attitude, and then our children will be able to build a better connection, cooperation, and they will actually be that A game person that Allah has destined them to be. So thank you all for joining. Like I said, this whole conversation should be between 40 to 60 minutes, and I'm glad that yes, we're right on time. Um, Let me see. I'll try to regulate myself and connect before communicating. Please do. Assalamu alaikum. My trigger moment is time to bath or nap time. Okay, so I'd like you to, if you're, I hope you're in a parent first community. If you're not, please send me a private chat after this so that I can share the link with you to join, and then you can put in your if we want them to do their daily practice of math or and further math sums, yeah, and then you and then they decide to have their own idea or their own agenda. Yes, so like I said, the correction is what in the calm, is in the pause, is in the wait. So connect, and then you'll be able to steadily clear your expectation. And what you can do is also make them have their schedule. Let them come up with their schedule and decide when they want to have this. Give them the rein. You need to know what is negotiable and what is not negotiable. And if especially those of us that have adult children, if you say you have to be following them back to back to do what they need to do, then there's something we need to begin to learn to do differently. So I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined this, and inshallah, I hope that it has been beneficial. And go back, you can now go back to make your more and akara, whatever it is on the breakfast table, right? And remember to DM me my own portion. أقول هذا أستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And yes, this is a private, sorry, a public link, and inshallah, the link will be shared in the. I think it will still be the same link, so that whoever is not here can catch it. Please feel free to share it, and feel free to look out for subsequent sessions. This is meant to be a fortnight conversation, but I'm also mindful that Ramadan is around the corner, and you know how it is in Ramadan, so it may just be monthly for now. Let's see how that works. So whatever it is, trust me that will communicate um the will communicate with you. So thank you all for joining, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe, like the video, and share. All right. Thank you for all the hearts you're dropping. It makes a lot. Thank you.